Morning, Kal Kadosh. We're just going to continue with today's Daf Ayin, but we're starting with the bottom, the last line of Masechet Bet. Hayodea Shu Shabbat. It was the third case of the Mishnah where it says if somebody knows that it is Shabbat, which means that we were making differentiation whether somebody knows where it's Shabbat, you're going to be chayav chatat on every single Shabbat that you were mechalel, but you're not chayav the mispar of the melachot that you did, which means that you're not chayav on every single melacha and melacha. However, in the third case, we said you are chayav according to the amount of melachot that you did. So the Gemara is going to ask, Ma'ishna reisha or Ma'ishna seifa? What's the difference between the reisha and what's the difference between the seifa? Which means, why is it that in the reisha, which was in the second case over there, you're going to be chayav chatat, one chatat on every single Shabbat, and in the seifa, you're going to be chayav chatat on every single melacha. Melacha, you're going to be chayav another chatat. So Amar of Safra says of Safra, Kan mi'idiyat Shabbat hu poresh, ve'kan mi'idiyat melacha hu poresh. Which means when they tell him that it's today's Shabbat, and he knows that he sinned, and therefore he's going to be chayav korban chatat, so therefore he's only just separating from Shabbat, and therefore, right, it's considered Shigigat Shabbat, and therefore he brings one korban. In the Seifa though, right, you knew it was Shabbat, but you just didn't know which melachot were prohibited on Shabbat. So in such a case, when they come and they tell you that it is prohibited, you're separating because of the melacha. So since you're separating because of the melacha, so therefore, you're going to be chayav on every single melacha and melacha. Okay? So Amale Rav Nachman comes and he says, Klum parish mi Shabbat el mishum melachot. Don't you ever separate from Shabbat only also because of the melachot? You're only separating the melachot because of Shabbat, which means this entire distinction between the two cases doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, you're only separating the Shabbat because of the melachot which are prohibited on Shabbat, and you're only separating on the melachot prohibited because it's Shabbat. So they're both incumbent upon one another. So what does that mean? Now, when you're separating because of Shabbat, not because of the melachot. No, you're separating because of melachot and because of Shabbat. Same thing. Elam Rav Nachman, but rather Rav Nachman says, you're right. Korban de chayav rachmana amai. On what are you going to be chayav a korban? A shigaga, on doing something accidentally. So he says, hatam, when we're talking about that you're doing the melachot purposely, but you just didn't know it was Shabbat, chada shigagahi, so then it's considered one shogeg. Because at the end of the day, you forgot it was Shabbat. So since you forgot it was Shabbat, the shogeg was on the Shabbat, right? You knew you were doing the melachot. The shogeg was, you forgot it was Shabbat today. However, though, in the case of the other way, which means you knew it was Shabbat, but you just didn't know it was melachot, tuva shegagot avyan. There were a lot of shogegs, because the yisur of the melacha was on the melacha in itself. So therefore, in such a case, you're going to have to bring a chatat on every single shogeg and shogeg. Okay? So that's how he answered up the difference between them. But here he says that every single melacha was forgotten by him, and therefore he has to bring a shogeg on every single melacha. Fine. So it says, chayav kol melacha u'melacha, you're going to be chayav on every single melacha. Chiluk melachot min alan. How do we know there's a concept of chiluk melachot? How do we know there's a concept that you are obligated, right? That there's such a thing that on every single melacha is separate. Samar Shmuel says, Zamarka, the pasuk says, Mechaleh mot yumat. What does that mean, Mechalele ha mot yumat? Right? It says over here, why does it say double expression, mot yumat? So he says, HaTorah ribta mitot arbe al chilul echad. The Torah says there's a lot of mitot for one chilul, which means when you do different melachot in one shot, there's like a lot of deaths. That means even though we could only kill a guy one time, but still, it's like a lot of deaths. Why is it a lot of deaths? Because of what we just mentioned, that there's a difference between the melachot in itself. Okay? So ask the Gemara, this pasuk, if he did it purposely and he's getting killed. So how do you compare that now to what we just mentioned before with respect to shogeg? By shogeg, how do we know that? By mezid, okay, I could hear you. But by shogeg, so says the Gemara, no. Im eno inyan lemezid, if it has nothing to do with mezid, there's another pasuk says, Kol ha'oseh melacha yumat. right? That if anybody's going to do melacha yumat, and there it is written out singular, teneu inyan leshogeg, so put it to an inyan of shogeg. Umay yumat, what does it mean, the concept of yumat? Yumat b'mamon. Yumat means that you're going to die with money, which means that you're going to have a lot of deaths through money. How do you have deaths through money? You're going to have to bring a lot of korbanot because it costs a lot of money. So that's what it means. So ask the Gemara, why are you learning from there? Learn from somewhere else. Or, sorry, why don't we learn it from Rabbi Natan? The Tanya is we learned in the Braita. Rabbi Natan says, Lo tevaru esh bechol b'shvotechem yom Shabbat. Yeah, he says, do not make a fire in all your places, right, on the day of Shabbat. Matal mulumar, what is it coming to teach you? Since it's written in the Pasuk, Vayakel Moshe et kol ha'adam b'nei Yisrael, ele ha'devarim. So it's written Vayakel Moshe, and immediately afterwards written, ele dvarim sheshvim ta'aseh melacha, these are the words. So it says the words devarim, right, words are a mute of rabim ishtaim. Okay? Which means when it says rabim, right, so the mute, when you're coming to minimize, it has to be minimum 2. Without aleph, right, which was extra, sorry, not the old aleph, the old hey, which is extra, but it says hadevarim, right, is coming on another one. And the word ele hadevarim, right, is another one as well. So it comes out that there's going to be 36 extra things. Because the word ele is 36, so therefore it comes out that you have 36 plus another 3. Because you have dot he, okay, dot he is 1, and devarim is minimum 2, because it's things, plural. So for devarim is 2. Had devarim, the he of the had devarim is 1, so it's 3. The numerical value of ele, aleph is 1, lamed is 30, and he is the 5, so it's 36. So 36 and 3 is 39 melachot. Elu shloshim v'teisha melachot shenemru leMoshe b'Sinai. These were the things, were the 39 melachot which were given to Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. So Yachol asan kulam be'erem echad eno chayav el echad. So I would have thought that even if I did every single one of them in one shot, I'm only going to be chayav one korban. Talmud lomar, it comes to teach you shesh tevin ta'avodu yom hashem tishvot becharish u'akatzir tishvot. The Torah tells you that you a separate command on charisha and on ketzira. Charisha is plowing and ketzira is reaping. To teach you that you're going to be chayav chatat on every single one individually. But I'm still going to say al charisha val ketzira chayav shtayim, only on charisha and ketzira. Val kulan, but on everything else, you're going to be chayav only one. And no chayav el achat. Talmud lomar lo tvaru esh. Do not make a fire on Shabbat. What does that mean? It says havara bichlal. Fire was part of the 39 melachot. So lama, right? So lama yatzat. So why did you bring it out of the count? Meaning, why did you specifically take fire outside of the count of the 39 melachot? So it says lakish elea, to make a hekesh. When it says lo taseh kol melacha, what does that mean? Lomar lecha tatayu mahavera. Just like making a fire on Shabbat is an av melacha, and you're going to be chayav on it by itself, a chatat. So to anything which is an av melacha, you're going to be chayav a chatat by itself. Okay? So that's what we're going to ask from here. So it comes out that according to this, right, why don't we just say that Shmuel learned of chiluk melachot from lo tevaru esh bechol mashvotechem from Rabbi Natan? Why did he have to learn it from the pasuk of mechaleh mot yumat, double expression, and therefore it means that there's mitot arbeh, and if it's not talking about mezid, as we talk about shogeg, and therefore it's talking about money, just learn it from here, from Rabbi Natan. So answers the Gemara, Shmuel savar la ke Rabbi Yosef, de amar, havara lelav yatzat. Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says that it wasn't separate over there, it wasn't taken out. The fire was not taken out of the melachot of Shabbat, because to teach you, right, that you're going to be chayav on an av melacha achatat. He says it was lalav yatzat. What does it mean lalav? Which means havara came out of the general rule and was written by itself to teach you that you're not going to be chayav on it b'mezid, karet, and skila like other melachot, right? And it's only going to be a lav, a negative commandment. Tanya, as we learned in the Braita, according to Shitat Rabbi Yosef, this entire concept of Havara coming out and being taken out from the count of the 39 melachot, according to Rabbi Yosef, was to give it a lav, which means if somebody transgressed it, they are only chayav a negative commandment, but they don't get killed. Karet, or they don't get killed, or they don't get, how do you call it? They don't get sekila, right? Like other melachot, if it was done purposely, or karet, if it was done on without witnesses or without warning. Okay, but according to Rabbi Natan, it was because of the concept of the differentiating between every single melacha. So it comes out that Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yosef, therefore he doesn't learn it from Rabbi Natan, so he has to learn it from somewhere else. So ask the Gemara, so why doesn't he learn it from the same place as Rabbi Yosef then? Because remember, if Rabbi Yosef learns this pasuk of fire for something else, so he also learns, obviously, that there is another place where we learn that there's a difference between every single melacha. So why doesn't Shemuel learn it from the same place Rabbi Yosef? Just like he learns Rabbi Yosef by the fire, that the fire is coming out as a lav and not to differentiate between avot melachot. So to learn it from the same place Rabbi Yosef. The time was learned in a Braita. Rabbi Yosef says, "Ve'asa me'achat mehenna." What does it mean? Ve'asa me'achat. He added the word mem. Ve'asa, you did. Achat mehenna, one of these. Why does it say from one of these? What is the from? Me'achat mehenna. He says when it says me'achat mehenna, it says on the word achat, it comes to teach you that sometimes you're going to be one on everything. One chatat on the entire Shabbat. However, though, he says sometimes you're going to be chayav chatat on every single one of them. And that's why it says henna to teach you that henna, which is like many, many different times, right? Achat mehenna, one of these. So achat, sometimes you're going to be chayav chatat, and sometimes you're going to be chayav chatat, henna. Look how many different ones, okay? So Amar Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina says Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina, my Tama Rabbi Yosef, what's the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef, right? Achat me'achat, henna mehenna. He says the reasoning why is because the pasuk could have written ve'asa achat henna. Why did it say me'achat mehenna? It added the word mem, the letter mem, to me'achat, and added the word mem to henna. So it says achat she'i henna, right? Ve'henna she'i achat, to teach you that each one is interchangeable. That sometimes one of them is like a lot of them, which means you're going to be chayav one chatat for a lot of melachot, and sometimes a lot of melachot you're only going to be chayav one, which is basically one chatat. Okay, so to do with the extra mem over there, it comes out that's why he was doresh this pasuk. Now to do with the extra mem, right? Achat, it says over here like this. It says, for example, let's say I wanted to come and I wanted to write the word Shimon, and I wrote Shimon, right? However, me'achat with the mem, it's mashma you're going to be chayav chatat, even if you only wrote part of it, right? That even though you had the kavanah from me'achat. That means the concept of me'achat means if I wanted to write the word Shimon, and I wrote Shimon, I'm going to be chayav. But if I wanted to write the word me'achat, and I wrote achat without the mem, I'm still going to be chayav. Because the achat already makes sense even without the mem. And therefore you're going to be chayav even on part of the melacha. Okay, Shem mi Shimon, or for example, I was going to write down Shimon, but I wrote down Shem, Shin Mem, and I didn't finish off writing the Ain Vav Nun, Sofit. But the fact that I had the kavanah to write the bigger word, still, right, the smaller word, which is Shem, makes sense. Shem is a name. So therefore you're going to be chayav. Okay? Daf Ain Amud Bet. Okay, 70b. So it says Henna Avot, Mehenna Toladot. So it comes out that the actual mem is teaching us you're going to be chayav chatat even on the Toladot, which means henna is on the avot melachot. The mehenna is from the Toladot. Remember, in Ilchot Shabbat, we're going to learn that many times there's the primary category and then there's subcategories. to do with the Doraitas, they're all the same, which means we would still give the death penalty, and it would still be karet, and it would still be the shogeg, the korban chatat, the sin offering, on an av or a tolada. There's no difference. But there is going to be certain differences. Why do we have to know when is it an av and when is it a tolada? So it says, achat shehi henna. What does it mean, achat shehi henna? It means zedon Shabbat v'shilgam melachot. It's going to be zedon Shabbat, where you did it purposely on Shabbat, meaning you knew it was Shabbat, but you didn't know it was a melacha. Henna shiachat, and then we're going to be henna, that is going to be one, shigat Shabbat, v'ola zedon. You forgot it was Shabbat, and you knew it was doing the melachot. So it comes out, why doesn't Shmuel be doresh chiluk melachot from over here? So answers the Gemara, Ushmuel achat shehenna v'henna shiachat lo mashma. He doesn't like this thing that one of is like henna, is like these, and these is like one. He doesn't like that. And therefore, Shmuel, he wanted to learn it from Mechaleh Mot Yumat, the double expression of death, to teach you that there's chiluk melachot, than to learn it from over here, that it's one from these from them. You like, he doesn't like that. Okay? Okay, fine. So there's a few different ways of learning it, whether it was from Mechaleh Mot Yumat, right? That's one of the ways of doing it, the double expression of death. So therefore, there's double expression of death through money, because they have to bring a few chataot on the different things. And there was the next one was basically of Rabbi Natan, that it was to do with the fire. Why did the fire come out? To be mechalek, right? Between the different avon melachot. And then you had echad mehena mehena v'echat. That was another one. Okay, so you have many different ways of learning. There's differences between every single melacha that you would be chayav on every melacha. Fine, next. Ba'amine Rava Rav Nachman. Rava comes and he asks Rav Nachman, okay, Helem ze v'ze biyado. Mao. What happens if he forgot both, Shabbat and the melachot? Which means he forgot that it was Shabbat, and he also thought that these melachot were permitted. So he had a helem. Helem means it was hidden from the person, right? So what happens if it was hidden both, and he forgot both? Thought it was Shabbat, and he didn't even know that this was permitted on Shabbat. What's halacha? Right? Because we learned that there's no shigaga, right, greater than somebody that was forgotten with Shabbat and also melachot. So do we say that there's no differentiation that he's going to be chayav on the shigaga on the chatat or not? So Amalei told him, the fact that he already forgot it was Shabbat, so therefore he's only going to be chayav one chatat because he forgot it was Shabbat. He also forgot it was melachot. Yeah, but he forgot it was also Shabbat. So says the Gemara, Adra, but the opposite. He forgot that the melachot were prohibited, and therefore you should be chayav also on every single melacha, just like we learned in our Mishnah. So says the Gemara, Ravashi, but rather Ravashi says, Chazinan, we're going to see, Im mishum Shabbat kaparish, harehelem Shabbat biyado, ve'eno chayav elachat, ve'melacha kaparish, harehelem melacho biyado, ve'chayav kol achav elachat. Which means like this. When we are going to come and tell him that it is Shabbat and that it's prohibited for him to do these melachot on Shabbat, why does he separate? Does he separate because it's Shabbat? So for the second, if you tell him it's Shabbat, he's going to separate. So therefore, what happens is he's going to be one chatat. Or when you tell it to him, right, he's going to separate when you tell him, because if you tell him it's Shabbat and he's continuing doing it, it means that he's not separating because of the Shabbat. Because even if he forgot it was Shabbat, it doesn't matter. It's because he forgot that it was a melacha. So if you're going to tell him, by the way, what you're doing is also a melacha on Shabbat, and now he separates, so then it was helem melachot biyado. That means he forgot it was a melacha. So therefore you're going to be chayav chatat on every single one individual. Okay? So that's the shita of Ravashi. Okay? So Amar le Ravina Ravashi, says Ravina to Ravashi, klum parish mi Shabbat el mishum melachot, klum parish melachot el mishum Shabbat. The exact same is so that we brought down before. It's attached. Are you separating because of melacha, right? Because of the Shabbat, or the Shabbat because of the melachot? It's the exact same thing. Ela lo shna, but obviously there's no difference. Okay? So he says, Tznan, we learned in the Mishnah, Avot melachot 40 chaser achat. He says, Avot melachot, it's going to be 40 minus 1. Vavinam bas, so we're going to ask, Minyana lamali. Right? What does that mean? Right? What does that mean, this minyan exactly? What does this mean, the number? So it says, V'amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Shima san kulam be'elem achat, chayav kol achav achat. And if you did all the avot melachot in one shot, so you're going to be chayav on every single individual one. Okay? So it comes out that the question of this maskana is, We just said avo melachot chaser achat, and we asked the question, why do we need the minyan? Why do we need to know the numbers? What do I care about the numbers? And Rabbi Yochanan says, no, because if you did all of them in one shot, you're going to be one chayav on every single one. So it comes out, if you're going to tell me now, that if you forgot both the Shabbat and the Melachot, you're going to be chayav on every single individual one, Shapi, so it makes sense. But if you're going to tell me, Helem Shabbat biyado, eno chayav elachat, that if you do Helem Shabbat in your hands, that means you forgot about the Shabbat, you're only going to be chayav one. How are you going to find that you're doing it purposely on Shabbat, but you're doing it by accident, the Melachot, right? Because it comes out, if you're going to tell me like Rabbi Yochanan that he says, that you did an accidental by karet, even though you did it purposely by the lav, so then it comes out, you knew that the Shabbat was a negative commandment, right? And therefore, right, what happens is, but you forgot that there was a karet involved. But if you're going to tell me, like Rabbi Shimon Lakish, that he says that you have to be shogeg, right? You have to be shogeg. Ad shishkog belav vekaret, which means you have a shogeg in the lav and the karet. Tiadal Shabbat b'may. So what does that mean that you know about the Shabbat then? What does that mean exactly? So the answer is Tiadal betchumin. Right, which means you knew about tchumim. You knew that you're not allowed to go outside of the tchum on Shabbat. Remember, the tchum is the alpayim amot, the 2,000 amot on Shabbat. And according to Rabbi Akiva, so Amar Rava comes and he says, Katzar v'tachan tigrogeret. The person is going to do ketzida and tchina, which means he's going to reap and he's going to do tchina. He's going to grind. Tigrogeret, like a fig. Bishkagat Shabbat was dom melachot, which means he forgot it was Shabbat. Right? But he did two different melachot. The chazar v'katzar v'tachan. Then again he did another time, ketzira and tchina. So again he did it twice. He reaped and grind, and then again he reaped and grind later on. There's a don Shabbat, right? V'shira melachot. Knowing it was Shabbat, but not knowing that the melacha was prohibited. So in this case, it came out that he did the exact same two melachot twice on Shabbat. The first time around, he forgot it was Shabbat, but he knew he was doing the melacha. The second time around, okay, he knew it was Shabbat, but he forgot it was the melacha. Then at the end, he found out everything. So he found out it was Shabbat, plus the melachot were asurot. And then he found out about that he purposely did it on the Shabbat, and then he didn't know about the melachot. So basically what happened is that, again, reaping and grinding. The first time around, he forgot it was Shabbat, and he knew reaping and grinding was asur on Shabbat. The second time around, on the same Shabbat, he knew it was Shabbat, right? But he didn't know, he forgot that reaping and grinding was asur. So in such a case, then he found out one after another. So he first found out about the accidental on Shabbat, but knowing it was a melacha. Then he found out the purpose on Shabbat, but accidental melacha. So what's halacha in such a case? Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph, ketzira goreret ketzira, utchina goreret tchina, which means one reaping, right, causes another reaping, and the grinding causes another grinding, which means that it's going to be one chatat for both of them. Okay?